So the question is, why did I go to India in 1977? And so I came across books about physical immortality in the early 60s, and I collected all of the literature on the subject of physical immortality in the English language. And I still have a library. It's the largest library in the world on the subject of physical immortality, and it's registered with the Library of Congress. But what I noticed as a result of reading all these books is that the authors of these books died before they even reached 100. And so I decided not to trust anybody who taught physical immortality unless they were at least 300, because that's kind of a reasonable barrier to get into the realm of real mastery. And so then I had the problem of finding people that were over 300, and I'd read about immortal yogis, and my first question is, are they still alive? And so in '77, I went to India for the first time looking for them. And the first trip that I took in April of '77, I didn't find any. But I found a very great yogi who could heal 5,000 people in one day. And at the end of that day, doctors would examine his body, and they said, you have so many diseases, you're the sickest person we've ever seen in our career, you couldn't possibly live for 24 hours. And so this yogi said, well, come back and re-examine me in 24 hours or bury me. And so they came back in 24 hours, and they examined his body, and they said, you have the healthiest body we've ever seen in our career. So that's a pretty special guy. And he also had the miracle of feeding the 5,000 people twice a year. And one was on his birthday, and so that was December 26th. And so I went back to India, not only to go to his birthday celebration, and I took 10 friends, and we were all in the kitchen watching these pots as they were feeding hundreds of people. And we noticed that no matter how much food they took out of these pots, they never got empty. And so we got to see this miracle in action, and that was pretty impressive. But he didn't know about immortal yogis, and it was interesting because he actually met one, and he told me stories about meeting him, but he didn't realize that that person that he met was an immortal yogi. And so he didn't know anybody over 150 years old in India. And so he didn't believe in physical immortality, and subsequently he died. However, when I went on this first trip, one of the persons that went with me was a very psychic and special woman, and Babaji appeared to her twice before she went to India with us. And on the day that she went to the airport, a guy actually gave her Babaji's address. It was just a casual mention, and she didn't know if they were talking about the same Babaji or whatever. But she left our group, and she went and followed that clue, and ended up with Babaji and spent 7 months with him. And as a result of seeing everything imaginable, being with him for 7 months, including Babaji levitated her across a riverbed that was over 1,000 feet wide, and showed her, and actually materialized her body for 3 days and took her on a trip through the universe. And so when she came back and shared that, why I couldn't wait to go meet Babaji. And so after we completed our agreement with this guru who did the feeding of the 5,000 miracle, we took off and we went to Babaji's ashram, and I was in Babaji's ashram for 30 days. And had some amazing experiences. Through Babaji, I met several other immortals. I met a 380-year-old guy, and I met 2 guys that were 2,000 and one that was 800. And so at one point, I thought, what makes these people immortal? And when I thought about the common denominators of their lifestyle, I realized that it was earth, air, water, and fire. They all had a conscious relationship to earth, air, water, and fire. They all bathe twice a day. They all have, they do a fire ceremony or have a more extensive relationship to fire. including Babaji told me that Krishna sat in a dhuni with the fire for over 90 years. And they're all vegetarians, and they also fast extensively. And they were the only people on the planet that I could find that were breathing fully and freely. And so they practice air purification. And so when I thought about that, I thought, you know, why couldn't I figure that out myself? Because earth, air, water, and fire is so simple and obvious. And the body is composed of earth, air, water, and fire. And if you stop to think about it, if you had to do something difficult to be immortal, that was painful and unpleasant, then God would be a sadist, because he would have constructed us in a way in which we are designed to self-destruct, or that we had to make ourselves miserable in order to live forever. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And so if you think about it, soaking in a warm bath is very pleasurable. Everybody loves sitting with the fire, and people enjoy good food, especially if it's a vegetarian diet and it's healthy and well put together. And what I found in my own experience, I developed the discipline of fasting at least 1 day a week. And if you don't like fasting 1 day a week, I guarantee that if you do it, eating the other 6 days will be at least twice as pleasurable. And so the breathing can produce the highest states of ecstasy. And so earth, air, water, and fire is the secret to personal health and aliveness.
How does